Now, here are some voices. 3 voices, in fact. 3 critically acclaimed British black actors.
How are you? Good to see you.
He's really glad you're coming on board, I can tell.
No, I didn't say I was coming on board. I said I'd meet with him. Did you tell him I was coming on board?
No. Take it easy.
What the hell is he doing up here anyway? He's a Southern governor nobody's heard of.
See, already you're sounding like a campaign manager.
Howard, I said...
I'm kidding.
Coming up, y'all. Time out.
Come on, man. What is that? What? You gotta get you cool to understand that it's the stick-up crews and the creepers that be giving us the most trouble. As soon as they start thinking like that, we're not gonna have any more surprises, you feel me? Because, you know, your uncle and me, we think you got a snitch up in the shop.
What?
Someone who tips off the stick-up crew. And you gotta be on that, right?
Can I ask why you were even doing that?
I told you. There's a gap.
This gap, is it related to that wall of garbage we found in Carrie's apartment?
There was a timeline, David.
It was classified material, Saul, improperly removed from this office, assembled by a crazy woman into a crazy collage, and I don't even want to know about your involvement in it.
The voices of Adrian Lester in primary colours, that's going back a bit, isn't it? Idris Elba in The Wire, and David Harewood in Homeland. All 3 went to America to get their biggest breaks. The Culture Secretary, Ed Vaizey, is calling the broadcasting, film and performing industries together today to ask why they had to go, in effect. He wants them to explain why black, Asian, other minority ethnic representatives in the creative world are not there in larger numbers. In fact, why their representation seems to be going down. Simon Albury is former chief executive of the Royal Television Society and actually produced a report on all of this, Achieving Diversity in Film, for the British Screen Advisory Council and for a previous culture secretary, and is here. And so is Gary Beadle, the actor, best known perhaps as Paul Truman in EastEnders. Morning to you both. Can I ask you, first of all, Gary Beadle, if you had Ed Vaizey here, what would you say to him the nub of the problem was? What is it that is holding back black, Asian, other actors in this country who want to get ahead but don't seem to be able to here?
Well, I think it's a big one. It's a really big one. And it's been going on for years. And all this time that I've been in the business, it seems to have always been around. And I think the powers that be, the world we're living in is run by money and advertising and stuff, and I think, you know, everyone's a commodity, and I think...
But so's America, so's Hollywood.
Yeah, but I think here is a different story. It's just a different story here. I just think we are in denial about quite a few things that really we're going to have to face at some point.
It's racism.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't call it racism, you know, because I'm a big grown man, you know what I mean? I've been in some moments where I've seen racism, and I wouldn't use the word racism. I'd say institutionalized attitudes that just hold people back for whatever, whether it's their gender or whether it's their, you know, their cultural background. It's a problem that we seem to suffer from, and it's rampant in the arts.
Simon Albury?
If Ed Vaizey was here, he'd have had the experience I've had this morning, which is walking through your newsroom in the middle of central London, when London is 40% black and minority ethnic, and seeing one Asian who is there to bring guests in. It's fully white. Behind me is a control booth. When I last looked, there were 6 white men and 1 white woman. 14 years ago, the BBC and other broadcasters said they were going to improve on diversity and representation. What I would say to Ed Vaizey is, we've had 14 years, we've had very little progress, and it's clear that broadcasting, film and the creative industries cannot be trusted
Also
to deliver. And what you need is an independent external regulator to make sure people address the issue and do deliver.
It's also worth pointing out, you did this report on achieving diversity in film. You're white.
Yes.
So, I mean, it's part of the same issue, isn't it?
Well, what's part of the same issue? We had a lot of black people on my committee. We had a report. It was given to the Film Council. Film Council did nothing that the report recommended. We reported exactly...
Yes, but no, the point you've just been making is that the people in charge tend, and it's also the point I think that Gary was, the people in charge tend to be white people and tend to think in a blinkered way about who might be worth bringing on. And I just make the point that it is interesting, isn't it, that you, as a white person, were in charge of this committee for achieving diversity.
Yes, but as a white person, I saw that we had a good mix of people on the committee. So, and actually, I merely delivered the report. As you can tell, I've got a loud voice. But the thinking came from black people. And I'm currently setting up something called the Campaign for Broadcasting Equality, which will be a platform for black people to say what they want and when they want it in terms of employment in creative industries.
Gary, what is...
But it is ironic that you've invited me here today rather than Trevor Phillips or Lenny Henry. Or Pat Young.
Well, all right. I mean, you could have said no, I suppose. But I mean, Gary Beadle, what do you want Ed Vaizey to do? I mean, we've talked about what you want people to say to him, what the issue is. What, if anything, can the Culture Secretary do? Is it something that the Culture Secretary can? He plainly can't press a button and change things. What is the pressure that you want put on companies in this area?
Well, I mean, I always find it weird when politics and art go together anyway, other than actually being in a great production. Do you know what I mean? I think they're just a million miles apart. But, you know, my advice to the Culture Secretary would be to develop a conscience. Just develop a conscience. And I appeal to that rather than getting into colour and anything else. I appeal to the conscience of people. You know, there's an identity crisis out there with young ethnic minorities, and if they don't see images of themselves, positive images of themselves, images that reflect something that can be achieved, rather than having to leave your whole upbringing and go to another country, I think I would say it's imperative that we tackle it, and we do set up, certain divisions where it's guaranteed that certain groups of people will be able to express themselves. The BBC have been doing that for years.
Guaranteed?
Well, I think so, yeah. I think so, because I think it's gone beyond good faith in certain aspects, I think everyone should be given the opportunity, and I think, you look at America and the problems that they've got their own problems, but I think socially we are more advanced here, but politically they're just miles ahead. And I think that shows in their television, their drama, and their film, and all their sort of artistic media representation. I think here we don't export our own. We import people after they go abroad and do really well. I'd love to have gone to America. Luckily, I've stayed here, and I've got a Ron Howard film that's coming out next year, so I won't be saying anything about that, other than the fact that I found myself not having to go and and taking the pleasure in staying here and representing here, so I can export from here.
And you'd like many more to do the same thing. Gary Beadle and Simon Albury as well. Thank you both very much.
Thank you.